Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome to the second episode of the NBA podcast. My apologies, it's been a minute since the last episode, but Kawhi has committed to the LA Clippers. I actually made a video, but it was corrupted. That actually discussed that I believe Clippers still had a partial chance. I gave them a 20% chance, while I gave Toronto and the Lakers a 40% chance each, which would equal 100% chance, 100%. So it was an even board for the Lakers and the Raptors. Report came out that the only way Kawhi would sign specifically with the Raptors or the Clips is if they got Paul George. Now I'm wondering if neither was able to, because Paul George requested a trade a few days ago in the Thunder's front office. So I'm wondering if Kawhi was leaning towards the Lakers like fully, but he was given the two franchises an opportunity to get a player that he wanted to play with, which is Paul George, and if either of them was able to make that happen, he would sign with them. But if they didn't, I'm guessing he was going to sign with the Lakers. Now that's all speculation, because the only true information we were given was if either you, Toronto or Clippers, gets Paul George, I'm coming to join you, full 4-year contract. And so it was between the Clips and the Raptors. The Lakers, who has a solidified team or solidified two stars, was kind of waiting on the third star, saying, hey, you gonna join or not? The Lakers ended up getting Rajon Rondo, KCP, Boogie Cousins, and a few other players, and that will be a discussion for another episode, definitely, to talk about the Lakers. But we're gonna say, we're gonna talk about what the Clippers have done. Steve Ballmer and Jerry West and the rest of the front office just made a huge shift in the whole entire NBA, specifically the West, and it is just very interesting, very exciting, to be honest. And this is just awesome. Now, I don't know the full team that's actually going to be. I don't think Wilson Chandler is going to be here anymore, but for sure Patrick Beverly, Magruder, Zubac, Jermichael Green, I honestly don't know, but Monse Harrell and above is going to be with the Clips with the coach of Doc Rivers. Now that's going to be really fun and interesting. Now, to get Kawhi, they paid him 4 years for, I think, 140 so on million, plus probably incentives and so on. Paul George, they got him for the rest of his 2-year contract, I believe, of whatever money he has. So, and they got, but by getting him, they traded Gallinari, Alexander, the point guard, who's going to be a pretty good player, traded the both of them, and 5 picks, 4 unprotected, 1 protected, which is the protected one was in 2023, and 2 trade swaps. That is a lot. That is a record-breaking pick exchange. That is crazy. Now, the only negative that I have about what just conspired, or I believe that's the word I'm looking for, Paul George there was a lot that OKC received. Now that's going to also be another discussion of what's the next step for OKC, because there is supposedly Russell Westbrook is looking to they're looking to figure out the future and possibly to move him to a whole rebuild. And so they wanted to trade Russell Westbrook and Paul George, get rid of both of them, and the only report I saw was that Russell Westbrook was only offered to the Raptors, not to the Clippers, which was honestly very weird why they couldn't offer Russell Westbrook to the Clips for what they had. I guess because their cap space, but I don't honestly get it why. But Russell Westbrook was offered to the Raptors, and they denied it. And then the Clips was like, "We're willing to give you all this whole entire house for Paul George." They're down for that. The negative I have towards that, and what I'm trying to say, is that I wish Kawhi chose the team he wanted and only specifically told him, "Hey Jerry West, especially him being a great GM, can you get Paul George for me and I'll come here. If not, I'll go to LA," and kind of leave the Raptors alone, because there was a contest of who is willing to offer the most between Toronto and the Clips. I understand they have a future array with Kawhi, Paul George, and then the rest of their players. They have a future, at least a few years of greatness. But they gave up a whole load of future assets for a player like Paul George, who I think is a great player, but they gave up too much. I also kept hearing that they believe that the Oklahoma helped out the Clips. There's a difference. They're helping out like what Kevin McHale did for the Celtics when they gave us Kevin Garnett. That is helping. For literally nothing, Delonte West, I believe, and a few other players just to the cap. That is helping out. This was 5 picks, 2 pick swaps, and a great upcoming point guard of Alexander and Gallinari, just for the cap, just for the money exchange. That is it. So I don't understand why people are believing that they helped out the Clips. No, the Clips gave up everything. Now I understand they still have a lot of picks. They still have quite a decent amount of assets, plus the players that they do have, but it was still a decent amount to say, because Paul George, honestly, Oklahoma got the best part of this trade, to be honest. Well, the Clippers ended up getting their superstar. They ended up getting another all-star. You want to call him a superstar, you can go ahead, but they ended up getting 2 great players. But for the long run, I could say that the OKC can finally start what they want, which is a rebuild, and they get to start it off with an amazing way of doing it by receiving 5 picks and be able to trade swap picks if need be. And they go way past the future of the contract of Kawhi and Paul George. They go past that. So as soon as these 2 players are like done playing and they retire or they move on from the Clippers, this team will sink, and OKC will be able to reap the benefits of that, just like what Boston did to the the Brooklyn Nets. Similar situation, in my opinion. So I felt like if Kawhi just told the Clippers and the Raptors weren't fighting for it, the Clips could at least maybe only gave up 2 or 3 picks, maybe just Gallinari. They wouldn't have given up 5 picks and all the extra stuff. I understand they are protected, but it is a lot. It is a lot, and so that's the only thing. And if Kawhi and Paul George wants to look into the future of this team, I mean, when they drafted LeBron, they had the Cavs. They didn't have the assets, but if they had some assets, they could have been able to keep LeBron his whole career in Cleveland instead of him leaving to Miami. That could have been a possibility if they were able to make a better team. Having Kawhi and Paul George and being able, or just Kawhi and having the assets that they did have. Kawhi, I understand he probably wants to win now, but he could have had a team that he could have been. It would have been a good team with young players truly developing, and I think for me, I would have loved to be able to have that situation where I have young talent, veterans, and a superstar, and just being able to develop every single player and still be able to compete. Good examples that, I mean, the Patriots, to be honest. I understand football is a little different, but you see that the Patriots, they have their core, and then they have young players that they still develop with their veterans. And I understand it's a little different from football, but if you find a superstar that's willing to do that, which there's not that many, you can actually develop a whole entire team for that. I mean, Bill Russell and them did it, and it was different time periods, but you can still go ahead and do that and just continuously develop. Recently, the San Antonio Spurs was like that. If they ended up keeping Kawhi would have been part of that transition of the greatness of Tim. Well, they had David Robinson, Sean Elliott. They had all these great players. They ended up tanking to be able to get Tim Duncan. Then they did great in their drafts by getting Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker. Developed them. Then when them three were slowly ending, you got Kawhi Leonard. They also have DeJounte Murray, who they just drafted, and all these other players that they have, these assets. In San Antonio, they would have kept that going, but when Kawhi ended up leaving, it kind of stopped them from continuing that trend that they had, because they had it from when the general David Robinson was there, and I think even before that, all the way to now, at least being able to compete, be able to say, hey, they have a good team, maybe not being true contenders, but saying, oh, they have a good team. That's what I would have loved and would have liked to see from the Clippers, but that wasn't the case at the moment when they're giving up all them picks. But it's good for the Clippers. It's good to see that the Clippers will be relevant, and I'm very happy about that, just because I'm not a big fan of these small market teams, and the Clippers are not really a small market because they're in a big city, but they're a small market because they're always having to compete with the Lakers, and it would be nice to see the Clippers actually do something like it's good to see the Raptors. Like I love watching them, from Vince Carter to T-Mac all the way to Chris Bosh. They're like, Toronto's always had good players come in and out to an extent, but no one wanted to stay. Kawhi obviously left, but he brought them a championship to say, hey, we won. I feel like Kawhi coming to Clippers, at least the 4 years that he has with this team, they'll be able to make something happen to say, hey, we're the Clips. We it's not just Laker Town over here. We're part of this, and that's what's really exciting to see. It's going to be really great for fans in LA or throughout the world, but in LA, just not, because it was sad to see those time periods where the Clippers, they barely had any, like the home games that they had, they barely had people come and watch. It was always packed for the Lakers with the Shaq and them, and then with the Clippers it was like half a stadium. Now it's going to be, the Staples Center will be receiving a lot of money for what they have done with the Clips and the Lakers, which is going to be very interesting and very cool. I know flights will be easier if they end up meeting each other in the playoffs. That's for sure. They'll be able to have all 7 games, if it lasts that long, the whole series in that Staples Center. That might actually be the first time, I believe, in history for the Clippers and the Lakers to possibly show up in the playoffs, and if for some reason they both do great, imagine the Western Conference Finals all being in the Staples Center, all 7 games. If there becomes 7, that would be ridiculous. But yeah, I do appreciate y'all watching, appreciate y'all listening, and I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.